welcome to another Jingle Jangle episode of We Only Look Thin. I am Katherine Weigel. I'm one of your festive hosts.
Yeah.
I have lost over 120 pounds.
Wow.
I'm a Tiny Habit certified coach, a Thrive Global certified coach.
Ooh.
And here is the jing to my jangle.
Catherine's home skillet, Donald Weigel.
Home skillet.
I don't know. Don't you think of skillets at the holidays, or is that just me because I think about food all the time?
Yeah, that's giving a Cracker Barrel vibe. But who are you?
Hi, I'm Donald Weigel, and I have lost about 100 pounds and kept it off for about 6 years. And this is the last time you will hear my voice as I sound as a 53-year-old man.
Oh, boy.
I turn 54 tomorrow as we record this.
Yikes.
By
That's
the
like
time-
a grown-up age.
I know. It feels like I don't know why it feels odd. 54 seems odd. Like I should be like in AARP and whatnot.
You actually just got an AARP
Yeah.
notice, and I usually throw out mail just like higgledy-piggledy, basically.
Yeah.
But I saw the AARP thing, and I was like, oh, this might actually be something he needs to open. Like,
I feel like I should be in one of those commercials where I'm like out thriving as an elderly gentleman. You know what I mean? Like I'm not letting my elderly state like hold me back anymore.
One of the things that I threw out recently in a fit of rage was we got a flyer in the mail from a planned fun adult senior community in Calabasas that was like for all your care needs from independent, pickleball player to like your final stages. Like and I'm sure it's way expensive, and so I just threw it out. But I was like, are we in the thriving latter part of our lives?
I think sadly we are. I mean, like I don't think being in your 50s was what it was like when we were kids, but maybe that's just my imagination and it's always like this.
Yeah, you could be in like an age 55 and over community soon. That's what grown-ups are.
I go live there by myself. You can't get in yet.
In his young...
Yeah. You have
Am I a cougar if you're older than me?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think by definition, I don't know what's the male cougar, silver fox or something?
I think so.
Or is that just when you have gray hair?
Yeah, we don't watch the Silver Bachelor or whatever it's called, the Golden Bachelor. I hope everybody turns out fine.
I hope everyone found what they were looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
15 minutes of fame or whatever it is.
But we had made a promise to ourselves at least that we we talked a lot before we got into the content of the show last episode.
Little bit. We went on for many minutes. One dear Whelp member and friend of the show, Sarah, was like, I looked at the time code and couldn't believe how many ambles they...
It was important, and I think that more importantly, we've started a real stir on the internet, and there's like, how there was like, oh, I'm team sparkly vampire, and I'm team boy werewolf, and
Jacob.
And like...
His name is Jacob.
Yeah, hey, tastes great. I'm taste great, and you're less filling, and like we can't be friends anymore. Like it's like the Tchaikovsky people versus the Chopin people. Like we've started this feud, and the hashtag Chopin got it done was trending for a while.
I actually feel bad because a few friends. We have one Whelp member who is in a symphony orchestra who is literally playing the Nutcracker all month.
Yeah.
So there's that. Which,
that
if I had a caller, it would be like, oh boy. And then a number of friends are posting like playbills of like, oh, our family tradition of the Nutcracker, our beloved sugar plum fairy.
I know, and now you're the bad guy
in
their story.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, well, but you know what? I think the best podcasts are the most divisive. You know what I mean? Like we're bringing big issues. We're not afraid to stir pots and cause a ruckus. So we did that. And so we said what we said.
And also Chopin did get it done.
He did get it done.
There's no arguing with that.
Yeah, we're starting with that. But yeah, you might notice I know we talk about calendars and the great state of Gregoria. Is that was Gregor a guy? Like what's the origin?
I believe it was had to do with a pope. Oh my goodness. I feel so like
chanting Gregorian chants, and then they also chanted about calendars. Anyway, whatever it is.
I can't remember now.
Calendars exist. We've all decided that we're using them. Whether
look, maybe you still use Stonehenge as your calendar. Like, I'm not going to judge. Like, if that's like your thing.
I love I can't remember if it was like the Flintstones, but Fred had a watch that was a sundial, which I just thought was really funny.
Oh yeah,
because you can't move the sundial. That's like, why don't?
That's why it's funny, because you can't move a sundial.
You can, but like. Anyway, poor Fred Flintstone. But we went from Tchaikovsky to Flintstone.
Okay, so here, like, I secretly looked it up. It's named after Pope Gregory, so I was right. It was a pope. It was named after a pope. It went into effect in October of 1582, and it is the calendar used by most of the world, according to this.
Oh, yeah. Great.
Exactly.
Pope Gregory. Okay, this is something that is embarrassing that I used to believe when I was young, very young, not recently.
Yeah.
I thought, because I wasn't really Catholic. I thought like the Pope and Santa Claus were kind of in like the same vibe. like they kind of lived somewhere forever and never aged. And because
and by you weren't really Catholic, you mean you weren't Catholic.
No, but like my grandmother was Catholic, and like I grew up with Pope John Paul II.
Yeah.
PJP too. Hashtag. You put the hashtag at the beginning. Sorry. You can fix that in post. But like, I just thought he was like forever and always and in the Pope Mobile. And then I didn't realize that, sort of like Santa Claus.
Yeah.
That he wasn't fictional. Whoa. I just said something. He didn't fictionally live in the North Pole, if kids are listening. He lives in the Arctic Circle area. It's not like right on top. But anyway, we're getting beside ourselves. But speaking of Santa Claus, good point, Donald, and calendars. I got a very aggressive text from my mother yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
That you don't know about.
Oh, okay.
It said, I won't look at it because...
Wait, weren't we going to get into the content of the episode? This is it? This is
the segue. I told you I had content
Okay, good.
to not
I'm ready.
Share with you. So
I'm ready. I'm like imagining you riding in the Pope Mobile right now, but that's okay.
But my mom sent a text and was like, oh, blah, 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 I did this. And also, like, can't wait to see you in 19 days.
Oh, yeah.
And I, like, my heart kind of seized because I am not ready. I have so much to do before 19 days from now.
Yeah.
That I'm going to see her. And I got really overwhelmed and full of anxiety about the holiday season.
Well, I, for one, am looking forward to seeing how you're going to get it all done before then, because I know you can do it.
Aw, thanks. And in this episode, dear listener, if the idea of me seeing my mom in now 16 days, 17 days?
Yeah.
Yikes, a doodle. Suddenly time is passing. We're going to help me and help you practically manage Christmas and the holiday season and all of the things you plan on eating generally. This is sort of a food-based episode, but like all of the food opportunities that we have in the month of December, because they are many. They are many. So we're going to pass along practical advice. And this goes for me too, because we've got like travel coming up, of how to manage the holiday season using Pope Greg.
Yes, we call him Greg. Yeah, Pope, our buddy Greggy, the Pope.
But like
his calendar.
Now I'm picturing Greg Brady.
Yeah.
Like in a Pope costume.
The Gregorian calendar named after Greg Brady. Yeah. It's facts. Like, don't look it up on the internet, but that's facts.
But we're going to use a calendar to help you prioritize your month of December. You're welcome. It's already happening. So this assumes we're going to start out super practical with actually go get yourself a calendar. We'll wait. There are Google calendars. There are print calendars. There are calendars with teen heartthrobs on them.
Yeah.
Donald enjoys calendars with superheroes on them.
I do. I generally buy a new one every year. And oddly, like last year, I got a Star Wars one, and I ended up wishing that I had gone for the superhero one after all.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I thought I really liked the Star Wars one. And look, I love Star Wars, but like I didn't really enjoy. There were several of the months where I didn't enjoy the style of art.
Yeah, I can see that. But
as much as I thought I did when I bought it.
I get it. Well, unlike Donald's regret, you're not going to regret what we're going to tell you about.
Look, calendars. You don't have to use a Gregorian calendar. Like, just whatever calendar you use, that's fine. We don't judge.
We don't judge.
We're calendar agnostic on this show.
Your Franklin planners. I love a printed calendar. I will say it. But we are going to. Okay, we already asked you to get the calendar, so we're going to assume at this point you've got a calendar. So we're asking you to use the calendar to set your expectations for the month. And we're going to start by asking you to fill in your calendar with actual things that are going on, just like a normal calendar.
Yeah.
But in this one, they're going to be basically focused on food opportunities. So mark your calendar for any parties, festive events with food, your night at the zoo.
Night at the museum.
No.
Yeah.
Any
where the statues come to life for some reason. Yeah.
Festive events, family visits, work luncheons.
Yeah, like even just planned nights out, kids events, potlucks, community or religious events, or even just sort of like don't forget the normal non-holiday related
this is a big one.
Food opportunities that you might run into. Your book clubs, happy hour, weekend sports watching. Like maybe you're watching your pickleball tournament
or football tournament
on ESPN 12, or NFL if you're one of those people. And, you always say to yourself, oh, well, during that game, I always have to have like the cheesesteak from Eddie's or the pizza, whatever. Like, if that's a food opportunity for you, then make sure you mark that down as well. Yeah.
And, like the times when you're baking cookies with kids or whatever. Once we look at the full calendar, you get we always think of things like, oh, I just need to get through this Sunday, which is Donald's birthday. I just need to get through like next week when we've got some friends coming into town. But when you add it all up and like, oh yeah, well on Sundays we always have chicken wings.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well on Saturdays we always go out to breakfast. Suddenly you see and I did this in Whelp Place, just sort of the potential things that could come up. And between, indulgent football things and kids' birthdays and, parties and whatever, it was like 20 different potential events, like food-based
20
events.
out of 31 days, yeah.
Exactly. And once you sort of step back and look at all of the food opportunities you have in the month for indulgence, it's sort of sobering to go like, oh, there is no scarcity of food. Because a lot of times we just go into the one event thinking about like, oh, well, we're going to go out to dinner, so I definitely want to have chips and salsa. And like, well, I'm going to prioritize that. But then we forget we've got 19 more food events coming down the line. And it's a good place to just sort of ask yourself the question as you're looking at your calendar, are all of these food opportunities the biggest food priority? If you look at all of them and you overeat by 2,000 or 3,000 calories, what will happen this month? Because at this point, if you have 20 food opportunities and your goal, which is like just in your brain sitting there not doing anything, is like, oh, I'm going to lose weight in December. Is that really going to happen with 20 food days where you're off track? Oh yeah, like New Year's Eve is also technically this year because it is December 31st. Like, are you going to lose weight? Are you going to gain weight? Are you going to gain a lot of weight or maintain? Because all of those options are open.
Yeah, and I spent many, many years just saying to myself, well, if I just get past this party, if I just get past my birthday, like I'm going to eat what I want until then. Oh, but wait, now there's like a work party coming up. Oh, wait, now there's a kids thing coming up. Like, and there was always something else coming down the road, and I just kept eating and eating and eating until I got a diabetes diagnosis and really had to, sort of sober up and do something about it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use, I think in this case, 6 Ps. I know we've talked about many more items with the letter P, beginning with the letter P. I think right now we're about to talk about using 6 different Ps to look ahead once you've got all this laid out on your calendar, and to really, ask yourself, like, how can I come out in January proud of the choices that I've made, or at least limit the amount of damage that you can do? Because, like, I could easily gain. It shouldn't be possible, but I could easily gain 20 pounds in the month of December if I let myself.
I know, and like we had an old neighbor stop by, knocked on our door like a human, and gave us just a pound of chocolate.
Oh, yeah, like out of nowhere.
And we ate some of it. I ended up throwing it away.
Yeah.
I should have done that at the start, but I didn't. But that was like a surprise. There are also X factors. Always add a couple of X factors in there of things that you didn't anticipate happening. So we have the calendar filled out. So the first P that we are going to talk about is prioritize. This ties into looking at all of the events and really out of however many events you have, 5, 10, whatever, which ones are the priority food-wise and enjoyment-wise? Are you going to eat cold square pizza at the kids' holiday party at school?
Exactly.
Like, is that like, oh man, I can't wait for that. And if you love the square pizza, then great. But once you look at it all and go like, oh, well, that's a pass. We can then prioritize the ones that are really important. We're going out to a really fancy dinner with our, book club. I really want to enjoy that. We'll prioritize that. But you know what? Football Sundays, maybe I'm not going to prioritize those this month because I've got all of these other things going on. So what are your favorite events? What are your can't miss foods? What events are really food worthy? Like we said, pick a few because it's going to, I guess the question to ask is, what will happen if you just eat all of the food in all of the events? Probably not what you want to have happen. So step back, prioritize, 25% of the events, 1 or 2, whatever that number is. And then on the other ones, really pull back and go like, this is just another day. This isn't the time that I'm going to indulge.
Yeah, I think that we oftentimes give into that like fear of missing out or that like false food scarcity mentality.
Yeah.
Well, this is the only chance I'm going to have to like eat these holiday foods before I have to go back to being on my diet or whatever.
Yeah.
Like try and get over that mentality of I have to do as much food as possible right now because it will be gone later. Like there will always be opportunities for food. So be really selective about the ones that you choose to like truly indulge in.
Exactly. And what's the next one, Donald?
So the next P is plan. And this involves really knowing what's in front of you. And that goes back to the calendar. And look, I know a lot of times if I'm listening to an audiobook or a podcast and the person says like, get out a piece of paper and write this down and do it. Like,
blah, blah, blah.
Like I'm just going to do it in my head. Like maybe you can do that, but I would really highly suggest you actually like sit down and lay it out and actually put it on a calendar so you can really see it in front of you. And it's kind of, to me, it's sort of related to getting on the scale.
Yeah.
It's like there's so many times where I'm like, oh, I'm sure my weight's fine. But what I'm doing really is I don't want to step on the scale and see the evidence that I've actually gained weight so that then I will have to do something about it.
Yeah.
So actually like writing it down gives you the visual evidence that you actually have to know what's going on and plan ahead because you might have 20 events coming up through the next month. And so really pre-plan how you're going to handle each one, do the prioritize step, and then that we talked about just a second ago. And then also, like, really just sort of stick to normal breakfast, lunches, your normal foods if you're going to go to one of these events. And the thing that I would do a lot and still have trouble with is, well, I know I'm going to eat like whatever I want later, so I'm going to start eating whatever I want right now.
Yeah.
And then I've compounded the problem where I'm adding thousands of calories before I even go to the event, or in some cases after the event.
Well, and I mean, and the point of that too is if you're having 2 to 3 meals a day, it's not just 31 days of the month, it's 31 times 3 meals a day.
Right.
And so are you going to compound the problem by, instead of just having one indulgence, having 3 indulgences a day? Because suddenly that's 90, meals, 93 meals
right.
that are going to be off track. So really focus on, normal days until the event. Don't skip eating and then gorge yourself later, which I've totally done before too. So yeah.
And then focus on, the day after as well.
Huge. That's
huge. And really resuming your normal habits and not saying to yourself, not doing the thing that I would do over and over again, which is, well, I already sort of blew it for the week, so I'll just like eat whatever I want for the rest of the week, and then I'll start on Monday. Like I'll get back on track on Monday. And also, not asking too much of yourself. If you know you're going to be sort of wiped out from an event, maybe that's just because I'm now in my old age that I get wiped out from these events. But if you know you're going to be wiped out from an event, don't expect too much of yourself the next day, but don't expect nothing from yourself also. Like, plan to set your minimums and really sort of get right back on your plan that following day.
Yeah. Well, and I think that brings up our next P, which is pause. We often expect, like, I know there are those memes that are like my normal life and then my life at the holidays. It's like the same problems, but now they're festively decorated. When we already have laundry and grocery shopping and work to do and deadlines and like actual life to live.
Wait, did you say zip lines? What did you just say?
I don't know, dude. I told you before, I don't know. You asked me like to repeat myself. I was like, I have no idea what I just said. Like, that is not my priority.
I'm looking forward to listening back to this episode and finding out what you just said.
Because I said deadlines.
Oh, deadlines. That makes more sense. I heard zip lines and I was like, what did she actually say?
We have actually gone zip lining.
Yeah,
so
it's true.
It was really fun.
It was really fun, yeah.
I was the kind of person who wasn't afraid of falling.
Yeah, that's
is what I told myself when I zip lined.
Exactly.
But pausing your normal expectations of yourself, or at least reducing your expectations, can help you not go cuckoo bananas at this time of year. So say, for example, usually you do a lot of meal prep on Sundays, or you really value and prioritize home-cooked meals and more elaborate workouts and going to the gym.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a time to not think of stopping behaviors, but actually just pausing and saying like, oh, you know what? Making, homemade meals or doing big meal prep every weekend isn't going to fit my schedule right now. I can pause that preferred behavior, save it for January when things calm down, and then say to yourself, and this month, instead of that, I'm going to buy the pre-chopped vegetables. I'm going to buy heat and serve meals. I'm going to, instead of making my blueberry oatmeal bake, whatever, I'm just going to stick to having yogurt or a breakfast sandwich frozen. Swap out things, pause your ideals, and it will give you more emotional bandwidth to manage those other events. A lot of times we think about, when we stop a behavior, we think about, like, oh my gosh, but I've got a streak. Like, I need to keep my streak going.
Right.
I'm and we don't think about just having the option to pause and just go, oh, this is just not right for this small time of, these few weeks, but I'll pick it back up again. And that gives you more freedom instead of going, oh my gosh, now I'm a failure. I'm not doing that ideal now. You're just pausing it. Just press and pause like Dawn has to do when we're watching television and I get up like 100 times. He just sees it as a pause, not an end.
It's just a pause.
That's
exactly.
It's just a pause.
That's what she tells me all the time. But it's about being realistic about what you can expect from yourself while still expecting something out of yourself and not giving up entirely. And the next P to use in order to attack the season is portion. And you can ask yourself, can you enjoy your indulgences in smaller portions? Like, do you have to have the largest slice of pie or slice of whatever? Can you do single servings of things? Can you do modifications, adjustments, swaps? Like, something that you enjoy, but isn't like the full calorie version of it. Can you still get enjoyment out of it?
I actually have something to tell you that I didn't tell you.
Okay, so I'm ready to hear it.
I really enjoy German Stollen, which is sort of a bread with marzipan and fruit in it. And
I have never heard of this before, and I've been married to you a long time.
It was like a German thing. My grandparents, anyway, it doesn't matter. But I love Stollen, but I don't really buy it because it is super caloric and it's usually really big.
And you'd have to fly to Germany to get it.
No, you just go to Trader Joe's. Man.
Oh, okay.
But guess what? Yesterday, I didn't even tell you this. I do lots of secret things.
This is not what a husband wants to hear. I do lots of secret things that you'll never find out about. I will be...
Okay.
You'll read my journal after I'm dead and realize the person I actually was.
Okay, I'm going to tell you something, and here it comes.
Okay.
This is what... Okay. I ended up... when you went to take our daughter to school yesterday, I went back and picked up that kid kitchen set off of our neighbors.
No, you didn't.
I did.
No, you didn't.
And I buy nothinged it. And it was so heavy that I ended up taking it to the woman's house. Like I checked and she was like, "Oh my gosh, that's perfect." Like, and I flash gave it, whatever. So I took it to her house. And
I think our listeners are probably a little bit lost. There was a really nice looking child's like kitchen set.
Yeah, like a refrigerator and a
stove and
in
like
front of a
else.
mansion, basically.
It was just sitting on the curb like for a really long time, and like we kept walking past it when we were doing our walks, being like, I can't believe that's still there. And so Catherine now brought it and put it on Buy Nothing, picked it up from the curb.
Yep. But I checked and I was like, hey, is anyone interested in this before I go back and get it?
Now I feel like you're living a secret double life that I know nothing about. Yeah.
You did mention the other day that I have intentions that I don't share with you, and it does happen.
Very concerned.
There's a point to this. So I just couldn't, the idea of wasting it, just our 18-year-old doesn't want a children's set.
No, she does not.
But it weighed so much, I could barely get it in the car. And I was like, what have I gotten myself into, Gilligan? Like, how did I do this?
You end up in the hospital from trying to lift it.
Maybe that's why my back hurts too.
Yeah, that might be it.
Okay, so I dropped it off at her house, and Shotzi's Bakery has there's a bakery that we just found across from our Ralph's that has really great coffee, but it's out of the way. Anyway, I went there yesterday. I got a coffee, and they had single slices of Stollen. So I bought one. So that is the single serving story.
Well, I'm glad you got a single serving of that. I feel betrayed and hurt, and I actually, honestly, if we're going to go back, let's go back a subject. I can't decide if I'm very proud of you or super annoyed that you threw away that box of chocolate, actually.
It wasn't very good.
I didn't know that you had thrown it away.
But here's the thing. So we can go to Shotzi's and get coffee because it's so good. It's really good coffee.
Yeah.
But I feel bad for them because they don't have very much business. Anyway, but I have the piece of Stollen. I haven't even eaten it yet. Was the story. I didn't just get in the car.
Well, you better hope I don't find it first.
And snarf it.
I don't know what it is, but
I didn't end up eating it. It's a single serving instead of the whole Stollen. And now you know. So the point here is you can secretly go behind your husband's back and do lots of secret things, and then get yourself a single serving treat instead of a full cake. But so the bottom line here with portion is focus on quality instead of volume. Pick a smaller version of a very high quality treat rather than just eating like a giant, whatever that's store bought and not great. Anyway, just to be clear, that is the only That's the only secret thing I did yesterday.
Sure, that's exactly what a secret hider would say.
No, I create problems for myself. I'm like, I don't have time to do anything. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go to this person's house, put furniture in my car, drive it to somebody else's house. When I say it out loud, I realize
the next
that
time you say you can't get something done.
Now ask me if I did laundry yesterday.
This is coming up. Yeah, did you do laundry yesterday?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. I feel like I knew the answer to that before I asked it.
Okay, so the next
P. Let's move on.
Let's talk about that. The next P is having policy. I also call them standards because that sounds classy. We all have standards, right?
Yeah.
What, don't you have standards?
Well, and the thing I don't like to do, and what I used to do is call them rules for myself.
Yeah.
And there's that whole mentality of rules are meant to be broken and like, oh, well, I made this rule so I can break this rule. But if you have a policy for yourself or you set a standard for yourself, I feel like at least mentally it makes it much more likely that you're going to try to uphold that standard because you've set it for yourself. You've decided you're the kind of person who's going to do this, and so you're going to do it.
Right. So for me, setting standards that I know make me feel my best, it's not punitive. It's not, well, everybody else gets to have fun and I don't. It's what do you know to be true about yourself? And for me, looking at the calendar and looking at all of the days with the potential events, you can still set standards for yourself, such as, you know what, even though there are all these events this month, I only have alcohol on weekends.
Yeah.
Because I know if I go to the party on Wednesday and I drink, then I'm going to be, and this gets into the plan for tomorrow thing, then I'm going to be tired and groggy. And so I'll probably skip my workout and then I won't have my planned breakfast. And then I'll miss my, I'll miss my step goal for the day. Setting that policy of I'll only have an alcoholic beverage on the weekend or a Frappuccino mint, whatever stuffing flavored thing, setting those standards for yourself is important.
Or flip it. I know I'm going to go to the party. I would like to have an alcoholic beverage or two at the party. So my policy will be, if I go to a party on a Wednesday, I don't have alcohol on the weekend. Flip it around.
Yeah.
It could be
that's
either
a good
way.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another policy is not going back for seconds. Someone in Whelp Place had asked a question about how to manage buffet style meals, which can be really hard. But when you look at the whole month and go well, I've got 15 other food events, that's how I manage the buffet. Oh, I don't need to eat everything at the buffet. I've got 5 other things to look forward to. So really having that policy of one round, only my favorites, or only, I love gingerbread type treats. I'll only have gingerbread. Or for you, it's if they're serving pumpkin pie, then I will have pie. Otherwise, I won't. Another one is, and this is a really big one, I not having a policy of not eating janky food at kids' parties is a very good policy to have. It's I have higher standards.
Or even something I do is I will, even this is all year round, not just at the holidays, but if I go to a theme park or any sort of a gathering or a party, and it's kind of there's a brand of chip I can get anywhere is the treat, or a candy bar that is just that you can buy at any grocery store aisle. I don't indulge in that. That's just I can get it. But if it's something that's truly unique to the event, then I will indulge in it.
Yeah, but if the kids' party has cold square pizza and whatever, it's you know what, I'll pass because I'm going to prioritize other foods. And it makes it easier. Policies and standards are not meant to, like I said, they're not damaging, or it's not a penalty that we're serving. It makes us feel better because we go in and we're not negotiating with ourselves in the moment. You know what? I'm going to pass on whatever dips this year. This is a dipless Christmas. I don't know.
It's dipless Christmas.
The year without a dip miss. Wow.
Dipless miss? I don't know. It's in there somewhere.
It's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But really just having some standards, it just takes away that in the moment negotiation. I'm not I have learned a lesson. I will not just randomly eat chocolate that is brought to us.
When people randomly bring boxes of chocolate to your door, which really sounds like it shouldn't happen, but it did.
Yeah, you're just going to pass on it. So, so those are policies and standards. You've got standards, don't you?
I do. And I married you, didn't I? And the final P is to pivot. And basically this is stay flexible. If something doesn't work, try something else.
Yeah.
If you go in and you think you've got the plan and you think you've got, your policies in place and you stick to them and then it still doesn't work out and you're still not happy with the choices that you made, try something else. Approach it as a setback and not a failure. And think of I know not science is not everyone's favorite thing, but think of yourself as a science experiment. And you try something and it doesn't work. Like, be flexible and try something else. Don't think that you're a failure and that you're never going to get it, because that's what I used to do all the time. And, where did that get me?
Yeah.
It get me like continuing to eat and diabetes, etc.
And diabetes.
Podcast 6 years later, etc.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, a lot of people, when they have the idea in their head that they think something is in their past, like, oh, well, I used to do that behavior. I can't believe I did it again.
Right.
They see it as proof that they're broken or that they're just not good enough. And really, when we start assigning all of this importance and meaning to a slip up or not acting in your best interest, it really doesn't help us to just be like, well, this is proof. Why should I even bother? I'm never going to get it right. Like last night, I ate more than I had anticipated. I remember there were some crepes. I didn't plan on having crepes, but I did have some crepes. And this morning,
where did you get crepes?
They're
I didn't
frozen.
have
They're
any
from
crepes.
IKEA.
Oh, okay.
I didn't think you and Bridget like crepes. Anyway, but like this morning, I woke up and I'm like, oh boy, what a night! Like, and I know having like 2 crepes that were 210 calories, like.
Yeah, then
bigger problems.
You did like your own version of the walk of shame.
Yeah, it was just like, oh boy, like that was a
wild, crazy night.
Wild, crazy
400
night.
calories of crepes.
We were in bed by like 9:30.
Yeah,
I think so. Anyway,
easily by 9:30.
But when we do that, like, oh no, I'm a failure. I'll never get this right. It's what can I do next? And that really ties into having an identity of growth and possibility and learning. And for me, that the final kind of end to this isn't a P, this is an I. So here we go. Building on that identity. They talk about it in all of the habit books about really, instead of just focusing on the end of, I want to lose weight, I want to get through Christmas, how do you identify yourself? I identify myself as a person who is a work in progress.
Yeah.
I am a person who learns from my mistakes. I'm the kind of person who plans and prioritizes and sets myself up for success most of the time. And what we do most of the time matters more than what happens every once in a while.
100%.
And seeing it that way, as like identifying yourself in that way, I identify as someone who prioritizes protein in the morning and drinks lots of water, and someone who I'm the kind of person who loves to get out for walks. I'm the kind of person who loves to feel good when I wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
And once we see it as growth and potential, we're able to manage the holidays more mindfully and with more purpose. Maybe that's like the final P of them all.
Purpose, yeah.
Is going through it with purpose. Because once we step back and look at the month, see all of the things that are going on, and we're able to at least, like, even if there are a few events where you maybe misstep, it's not a failure. Maybe there are some events where you go, oh my gosh, I did it. I realized that the kids' party was just not my deal, man. Like,
I don't know why you're talking like that, but sure.
I made a dipless Christmas work for me. And now, and then when you get to the point where you're like, oh, I paused. You're right. This isn't a failure. Like, it feels really good to stick to your intentions, and doing it more often than not matters. Don't discount small improvements over time, because when we're looking at the month and we ask ourselves, do I want to lose weight, gain weight, maintain my weight, which is a super duper win.
Yeah.
Or maybe last year you gained 20 pounds at Christmas. If you reduce that to even just 5 this year, like that is a huge win.
Yeah, it's a victory.
Yeah, it is a big win. That is a 15-pound like win right there. So look at what your expectations are this season. Prioritize, plan, pause, pump up the volume.
Pump up the volume.
With, making sure you get in your veggies and your protein and your fiber. You can make the holidays work for you. This is actually something that I need to do myself, which I haven't done yet. So I'm going to focus on doing this weekend. Please, like Donald said, please don't just go, yeah, I get the point. Actually write down all of the things that you have on a calendar. Make sure you know what is coming your way. Because if we leave it to, I'll figure it out when I'm there, chances are, if you leave it to chance, chances are, I don't know.
There won't be a chance. You won't have a chance. I'm going to get to it after my birthday. Oh no! Oh no! I said the thing I said I shouldn't say.
But yeah, so focus on all that jazz, and you'll be fine.
And all that jazz. Well, thank you so much for making this podcast a priority and for listening to this episode. We really appreciate it, and we are really grateful for each and every one of you. It really does mean a lot to us that you are listening. If you'd like to listen to more of this, you can find almost all of our episodes on every major podcast platform, or you can find every single episode, even from number 1, on our website at weonlylookthin.com.
Yep. And if you are on our website, you can click that link for Join Our Support Group, where you can find out more about Whelp Place. We Only Look Thin Place is a Facebook-based accountability group for women. We are not a weight loss plan, but we are a place for support and accountability and check-ins. We have people doing lots of different plans. We're plan agnostic, but we are there to support one another in mindset and sticking with it in this holiday season where there are lots of temptations. We have 2 subscription options, a monthly option with a 3-day complimentary trial and a 3-month subscription with a 7-day complimentary trial to see if Whelp Place is right for you.
Absolutely. So please check that out. And if you'd like to interact with us in other ways, you can find us on social media. We are on Instagram and Facebook at We Only Look Thin. And really, frankly, I would like to see hashtag Dipless Christmas trending before the end of the week. So let's get on that, everyone. Or you can send us an email to weonlylookthin@gmail.com. We really appreciate episode suggestions. Look, if you've got something for the holidays that really works for you, we would love to hear that. If you've got a strategy that worked, or if you've tried something that we've suggested and it's worked really well for you, we would love that kind of feedback. If you have questions for us, you can also send them there, and we enjoy hearing from you. If you want to give us a compliment, to weonlylookthin@gmail.com.
Yep, and if you have a little extra time this Christmas season, this holiday season, and want to give us a gift, the gift would definitely be heading over to Apple Podcasts and leaving us a rating and a review. Not only does it help us know that what we're doing is making a difference, we actually got one the other day that said someone had lost 50 pounds listening to our podcast.
All right.
We were an inspiration. And that, it means honestly
it really,
so
truly
much.
Does. I love that, more than you could possibly understand.
It's amazing. And so please know that it really, it helps, us keep going, knowing that we're making a difference in your life. And it also helps other people find us and boosts us in the ratings for people searching for cool, fun, dipless podcasts like ours.
Yeah, the more ratings and reviews that we have, the more that we get promoted in search results when people are looking for podcasts like ours. So that really does help us out.
Yep.
Another thing that really helps us out is if you just tell somebody about the show. Word of mouth really helps the show grow. If you can give an actual testimonial, someone's thinking about trying to find a podcast like ours, or even just sort of looking for some new answers for health and fitness and losing weight. and you give us a shout out that, and you're like, well, this podcast is great. It's fantastic, you might say. Then that really does help when people hear directly from you. And if you could give us a shout out, like if you're in person, or if you're on a Facebook group or a Reddit group or a Discord server, something like that, and you give us a shout out, it really helps the show grow, and we would be grateful.
Yeah, because and even if they ask the question, yes, but are there lols? And you can say, yes, there are LOLs on this podcast. We can ensure that is happening too.
Absolutely. So if you're still a little confused as to whether it was Pope Gregory or Greg Brady who invented the Gregorian calendar, just remember that Catherine and I are an inspiration. The information that you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The hosts are not medical professionals. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program.